Hi, Bob Fitrakis here with Gerry Bello. I'm the editor of the Freepress.org, Columbus Freepress. Gerry is a researcher and writer and a Freepress board member. Gerry, there's been a lot of rumors on the internet, a lot of stories saying that Scytel, the Spanish-based vote counting company, is owned secretly by George Soros. What does the Freepress Research find?
Well, I didn't find George Soros. Scytel is owned by three venture capital firms that invested in it after its founder died in a car crash in 2006. Those three firms are Balderton Capital, which is the British spin-off of Benchmark Capital, Nauta Capital, N-A-U-T-A, which is a Spanish-based private equity firm, and Spinnaker SCR, which is a fund underneath Riva y Garcia, which is yet another Spanish private equity firm. Nauta Capital also has two board members in common with Spinnaker SCR. Nauta Capital basically is the controller of Scytel, and they are also heavily invested in a firm called Carrier IQ.
Carrier IQ, wasn't there a controversy involving Carrier IQ?
Yes, Carrier IQ was found to have put keystroke logging spyware on basically every phone in America. Your BlackBerry, your Android, your iPhone, all of them are running Carrier IQ, which records every keystroke to send to your phone manufacturer, not your telecom agent.
So why would your phone manufacturer want everything you've ever keystroked on your smartphone?
To make it work better, allegedly. However, a FOIA request has determined that the FBI also uses Carrier IQ for law enforcement surveillance purposes.
All right, and I think we're going to look at some video of Carrier IQ.
Yeah, there was a researcher who actually came out and blew the whistle on them. They sent him a nastygram and told him to shut up. The Electronic Frontier Foundation had his back, but he actually went and put out this YouTube video where you can watch Carrier IQ spy on you.
Hey guys, it's Trevor. There's been a lot of talk lately, but what I want to show today is what I see Carrier IQ doing on my device. Our previous discussion got cut short, but thankfully the EFF has allowed us to continue. Really guys, I can't thank you enough. The next thing that we see is this other application with the same icon, once again nondescript, and it's called IQRD. So let's open that up. Now, in here we see we are presented with an option to force stop. Now, this is a little weird because we have not seen this in the running applications list before, but if it is given us the option to force stop, it means it must be running. The permissions that it has are below, and you can see a pretty extensive list of permissions here. Everything from calling phone numbers, stuff that costs us money, sending text messages, reading text messages, getting our location, recording audio, changing our audio settings, playing with Bluetooth, changing network connectivity, all sorts of stuff that this has. Now, what's really important here is to look under System Tools. You see it is set to automatically set at boot. This means that this application will always run when Android is running. The last thing that I'm going to show is trying to press the force stop button. See up here we're offered with a force stop, which means this application must be running, even though we didn't see it in the running applications list before. So let's go ahead and try to stop it. You can see it actually does nothing. You are unable to stop this IQRD. Now, what I'm going to be showing here is what we can see Carrier IQ doing. We see that when we press the home button, action com.htc.iqagent.action.ui01 is called. After that is called, it is sent with a button press, which they call W key code. The menu button press is number 11, and then a key event. A 0 comes when you press the button down, a 1 is displayed when the button is released. I'm going to press the button 1. You can see Action UI01 was called with a 49, and once again a 0 because I pressed the key down. You can see if I press a 2, a 50 is called, 351, 452, 553, and so on and so forth. So every button that you press in Dialer before you even call it already gets sent off to the IQ application here and has a unique key press for everything that we press down. Now what I'm going to show is using the browser application. What I first want you to notice is that my device is in airplane mode with wireless network on. I am not on any sort of 3G connection. Now when the browser first comes up, you can see Google requested location here. I actually declined that, but since location was requested at all, we got a submit LC30 up here. And that means the IQ agent knows about our location even though I declined this website from knowing it. Now down here you can see the URL of the page we went to. I'm going to want you to make note of that for a little bit later here. So what I'm going to show here is Googling the word Hello World. What we see here is I went to Google search and I searched for the word Hello World. And the problem here is that this is over HTTPS. And this information is supposed to be encrypted. The way this works is anything after the domain, you're supposed to get a handshake looking for the certificate. Once you make that handshake, the entire page is connected. So strings, stuff like this, are always supposed to be encrypted in the world of HTTPS. Now, while I'm showing just doing a simple Google search, there are instances where you can pass a username and password in plain text. And the reason here is because these strings are supposed to be encrypted. But we can see that Carrier IQ is querying these strings over my wireless network on no 3G connectivity, and it is reading HTTPS.
All right, and but it still doesn't tell us who owns Scytl, this Spanish-based company that's going to count allegedly 25% of the American vote. Is there any familiar names that
no, they're
readers?
Basically, its own. Now to Capital controls Scytl. It's Now to Capital is owned by 8 people that came from a management consulting firm called Cluster Management.
Mm-hmm.
Their North American principal, Dominic Endicott, also worked for Booz Allen Hamilton.
And why is that important?
Booz Allen Hamilton, well, one, it's owned by the Carlyle Group. 2...
So there's a connection between Booz Allen and the notorious Carlyle Group? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, they own it.
Carlyle Group owns Booz Hamilton.
Booz Allen Hamilton. Dominic Endicott used to work there, where he was their North American leader for telecom solutions. Booz Allen Hamilton was also involved
Telecom Final Solutions or Solutions?
Well, he was working for Booz Allen in the telecom field at a time when Booz Allen was implementing data mining programs for the NSA, including Pioneer Groundbreaker and ThinThread, which later morphed into the Total Information Awareness Project under John Poindexter before that got shut down.
Well, this doesn't
and
make
then
me
reinvented
feel real,
okay.
real secure. So he's now gone to...
He's on the board of Carrier IQ by virtue of his position at Now to a Capital. So the same people that spied on you for the NSA and spy on you through your cell phone will be counting your vote and coming soon, we'll be offering you an e-voting solution where you can vote from your smartphone.
And George Herbert Walker Bush and James Baker and others, as well as former CIA agents linked to Booz Allen or the Carlyle Group.
Yeah. For instance, the Booz Allen boasts a former head of the CIA, former head of the NSA, a former head of the DIA, a former head of the National Reconnaissance Office, and 2 directors, straight up intelligence czars, director of national intelligence.
And one more time, what's the relationship between Booz Allen and Scytl?
One of the people that functionally owns Scytl used to work at Booz Allen in a telecom capacity until he moved over and began working. He worked at cluster management with the rest of the founders of Nautoa Capital. Left cluster management at the same time as them. Went to Booz Allen. They founded Nautoa Capital. When he was done at Booz Allen, he goes and joins his buddies and runs Carrier IQ for them while they run Scytel and Count Your Vote.
So the security industrial complex connected to Scytl, who's going to count 25% of America's votes.
Yes, and votes all over the world. They handle all the municipal elections in Norway, for instance. But yeah, they're the pioneer in internet voting. And
as we say at the Free Press, it's never over till the cyber vote comes in.
Correct.
All right, and we've also got an explanation, do we not, on video,
all right,
of how this all works?
Right. So here you can see Scytl's lead scientists explaining their scheme at a tech conference in Barcelona. And they claim that their scheme is unbreakable because the voter is going to get a receipt, an electronic receipt that proves to them what they voted for. And this proof is based on something called the zero-knowledge proof, which is sort of a cryptographic function where I ask you to tell me a secret, but only if I know that you really know the secret, but you're not going to tell me the secret until I pay you. So we engage in a negotiation until essentially I agree that you know the secret and you tell me. However, this is all completely undermined. Their verification structure is completely undermined when you don't need a zero-knowledge proof if you're already monitoring the phone and therefore have all the knowledge and not zero. If I already know who you voted for, I've undermined the whole system. And so Carrier IQ and Scytl working together is absolutely capable of undermining all the votes and doing it very selectively, so they only change a few votes. You combine that with data mining software and predictive behavior, and you can even figure out which voters aren't going to check and aren't going to look, check, or complain, and call you back, and you know which 1% of the votes to flip, which 2% of the voters to flip, with very predictable results.
All right, well, let's take a look at the video and see how the electronic vote counting companies are undermining the secrecy of the American vote.
Are something that is known as zero-knowledge proof. I know that sounds very strange, but mainly the idea is if we use as reference 2 proofs that are the most common in cryptography, and especially in cryptographic protocols for e-voting, if we think about, we can use proof to verify the correct decryption of the process, or proof that can be used for verify that if you have 2 different votes with different encryptions, they still have the same contents. So nobody's manipulating the votes. The proof of correct decryption, mainly, what they are doing is they are providing, or it's a way that the entity that is making the decryption process can generate a proof to any verifier that can use to check that if I have this content that is decrypted from the vote and I have this encrypted vote, using this proof, I can check that the content decrypted is really the content that was previously encrypted. Okay? And the most important part is that the verifier can do this without having access to the private key. So we can still preserve the privacy of the election. In the case of the plaintext equivalence, it's similar, but it's just to check that we have 2 votes encrypted, but they still have the same content. So once I did this, let's do an example about how is currently used these advanced cryptographic practices or algorithms in a real election. This is, for instance, used currently in Norway. And this is a voting card that is used by the voters to verify that at the end, the encrypted vote really contains the selections made by the voter. And what we have is, in one part, voters receive what are the candidates that they can cast votes for. And they also receive another part that contains numbers that are return codes. And the idea of this process is, okay, the voter, when selects something, is expecting that it's challenging the system and expects that the system will return the code related to the candidate. Since this is a paper ballot, this is a paper voting card, only the voter knows which are the return codes expected. So the way that it works, the protocol, the cryptographic processes are, initially the voter selects the voting options using her computer. And these voting options then are encrypted, digitally signed, and sent through internet to the voting system. If something happens here, then the voter intent inside the cryptographic or the encrypted vote will not be the same that has been selected by the voter. But what is receiving the voting system is supposed that is the voter intent of the voter. Once the voting system receives the encrypted vote, it implements a first operation over the encrypted vote. And the result of this operation is sent to another component of the system that reproduces a similar operation of the encrypted vote. We are making operations on encrypted data. So the system, the voting system, and the other validation system do not know, any of them know which are the contents of the encrypted vote. So, but they perform the operations. And the result of the operation is sent to the voter. Okay? Since if the vote contains the selected voting option of the voter, the return code here should be the same one present in the voting card. If something happens, for instance, if the voter has any malicious software, any malware here in the systems, bug, whatever, if somebody tried to change the voter intent, what would happen is that the code returned will not correspond to the selected voting option. So the voter then can decide, okay, I think that the voter intent in the ballot box is not the same one that I selected. So I prefer to use, they can invalidate the vote, or they can use another channel for voting. So using this process, at least we can provide some transparency to the voter. Since the voter can be sure that at the end, what is stored here is an encrypted vote that really contains the voter intent selected by the voter.
All right. So you see how their scheme works, and now I've explained to you how you can undermine it. And I mean, it's hard to get your head around when you don't have any kind of background in cryptography, which luckily I have a small background in cryptography, so I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. But any cryptographic protocol, any scheme is only as strong as the procedures around it. I mean, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how strong your safe is. If I see you working the combination, I just come when you're not there and go into your safe and take your money. And that's essentially what they're set up to do.
This is a Freepress report on who controls the vote in the 2012 election. Remember, electronic voting by partisan Republican-connected companies is faith-based voting. You can't verify it. Thanks, Gerry.